I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War. Last week, we saw the Austro-Hungarian Empire fighting the Russians in the freezing snows of the Carpathian Mountains, while further north, the Russians were being routed in East Prussia. In the Middle East, the Ottoman army was retreating from the Suez Canal, and in the west, there was fighting in the Argonne. Actually, if we look over to the Western Front, we see that the back and forth is in no way diminished this week as the battle continued from the trenches. On February 13th, the Germans took the village of Norroy and attacked in the Lauch Valley, taking Sengern and Remsbach the following day. The French counterattack at Norroy the 16th was repulsed, but they managed to successfully retake the village the 18th. There is also heavy fighting during the week in the Vosges and northwest of Verdun. Now this might sound like small potatoes compared to some of the other things we discussed, but keep in mind something here. This was a non-stop offensive by the French, and in February, they would suffer nearly 100,000 casualties, according to Jack Sheldon in The German Army on the Western Front, 1915. But, according to R.T. Foley, who wrote of the development of the War of Attrition, the figure is more like 250,000 for the month. So all of these little battles for a trench, or a signal station, or a tiny village add up quickly. But the big battle news this week was not in the west, but rather far to the northeast in East Prussia, where since February 7th, when General von Hindenburg's German offensive started, the Russians had been in big trouble. First, the Russian southern wing had been pushed back 100 kilometers. Then the Russian right flank had been pushed in, and the Germans threatened to encircle the Russians and inflict a military disaster on them, the scale of the Battle of Tannenberg in August 1914, where Russia lost nearly an entire army. By Valentine's Day, with the Russians in complete disarray, the Germans took Lich. East Prussia was now completely free of Russian troops, and 5,000 Russians were taken prisoner that day alone, in addition to over 10,000 the week before. By the 16th, it really was looking like Tannenberg, but nobody reckoned with the Russian 20th Corps. While the rest of the entire Russian army had been routed throughout the region, the 20th Corps was holed up at Augustau Forest under General Bulgakov and eventually surrounded by the Germans. 2 weeks they held out in one of the most heroic stands of the entire war, before finally surrendering February 21st. This was a high price to pay, 70,000 prisoners by some estimates, but their resistance had given the rest of the Russian army a chance to escape and regroup. A day later, Russia counterattacked and stopped the German advance, ending Hindenburg's plans for a drive that would knock Russia out of the